Welcome, and thank you for joining us for the Jewish Democratic Council of America's New Jersey's 11th Congressional District Democratic Issues Forum, JDCA's first candidate forum in 2026. My name is Izzy Klein, and I'm a founding board member of JDCA and the chair of JDCA's political committee. JDCA is the political home and voice of Jewish Democrats across the country, advocating for policies and electing Democratic candidates who share our values. Since the 2020 election, we have held issue forums such as this one in Democratic primaries to provide opportunities for candidates to speak to issues of importance to Jewish voters. We're grateful for those of you who have joined us today and hope that you find this forum informative. Most importantly, we hope that those of you in New Jersey 11 will vote on or by February 5th. This is a historic moment when our freedom, rights, and democracy are at stake. On these issues and countless others, Democrats in Congress are a crucial line of defense for our values. This is why JDCA is working to ensure Democrats win back the House majority in November and take back the Senate. And this is the first election of 2026, and it's in New Jersey's 11th Congressional District. Today, we're thrilled to be joined by 8 candidates running in this primary. And as a New Jerseyan myself, I'm proud to see so many strong Democrats running. And I want to welcome our 8 candidates and hundreds of viewers to today's Issues Forum for the New Jersey 11th Democratic primary. As the political home and voice of Jewish Democrats and voters, advocating for policies that support Democrats, we are mobilizing millions of voters across the country and helping them to make informed decisions at the ballot box with issue forums like this one. Before we begin, I'm going to quickly go over the rules which have been shared in advance with all of the candidates. First, this is an issues forum and not a debate. Candidates will answer the questions by addressing the audience, and they will not engage with, address, or refer directly to one another. Second, there will be no rebuttals. If this rule is violated, candidates will receive one warning. After that, we'll mute candidates for violating this rule. Third, candidates will not ask for your vote or for your financial support. They will share their views on a range of issues that are important to Jewish and Democratic voters. Fourth, there will be time limits. Candidates will have 1 minute for introductory remarks, followed by questions, which they will have 45 seconds to answer each. We will rotate the order for responses. As a reminder, we kindly ask the candidates to adhere to the time limits and the rules. We will keep time throughout the forum with a Zoom timer. When time has expired, the bell will ring, which will sound like this. Thank you. Now that we've reviewed the rules, we're ready to begin the forum, and I'll hand it over to JDCA's dynamic CEO, Halie Soifer, to moderate today's conversation. Halie?
Thank you, Izzy, and thanks to our 8 candidates who are able to join us today in this primary. Brendan Gill, unfortunately, was unable to attend due to an unexpected family obligation. We will begin the forum with opening statements, and with their permission, we will address all 8 candidates by their first name, and we're going to proceed in alphabetical order of first names and then rotate. So we will start with Annalila, then Anna, Jeff, JL, John, Taisha, Tom, and Zach. I'm also going to post this for the candidates in the chat here, so we can start with Annalila. We are having some trouble hearing you. Okay.
After what feels like a eternity on Zoom, to still not be able to unmute myself. Goodness. My name's Ana Lilia Mejia. I am an organizer with 25 years experience working mostly behind the scenes, trying to improve the lives of everyday New Jerseyans, everyday Americans. I spent my career in New Jersey working in labor unions. I'm proud to have been the political director for SEIU. I'm proud to have worked for the union that very much pulled my family out of poverty. Unite Here, which was the iteration of the International Lady Garment Workers Union. I have spent most of my work in New Jersey, as I said, behind the scenes, advocating for things like raising the minimum wage, fighting against the oppression of communities, of those on the margins, because I believe people on the margins are quite often the margin of victory, the folks that we have to support. I'm glad to be in this space with you today.
Thank you. In case there was any question about what our buzzer sounds like, it
Yeah,
is that.
now I know what it sounds
Okay.
like. Thank you.
Okay. Anna, over to you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anna Lee Williams, and I'm running for Congress because you deserve a fair deal from your government. This is a very heavy and urgent moment. We are barely 2 weeks into 2026, and we have seen our government invade Venezuela, threaten to go to war with over 6 countries, and ICE has committed lethal acts of violence towards American citizens. They were just here in my hometown of Morristown over the weekend. They picked up 10 people at a laundromat, just regular people doing their laundry. For those of us who are part of the Jewish community, and for anyone who studies history, alarm bells should be going off. This moment is urgent, and we know what happens when fear, instability, and unchecked power go unanswered. Right now, we need clarity, courage, and action from all of us. We have a responsibility not only to oppose what is dangerous, but to articulate what we are fighting for. That's why I'm fighting for the fair deal, a governing vision rooted in dignity and security, healthcare that doesn't bankrupt families, homes people can afford, dignity in your retirement. We have to restore faith in government, and we have to fight for the fair deal we deserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. And please unmute.
There you go. Hi, I'm Jeff Grazel. I stand before you as a proud Jew and a proud Zionist. My son attended Columbia University for 4 years, and I can tell you definitively that anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. But I'm not just standing before you as a Jew. I am a 2-term mayor of Morris Township. I flipped my town from red to blue to become the first Democratic mayor ever in Morris Township in 2019. And I am also an engineer who has a process-driven approach. We've delivered a lot of results in Morris Township, and I have a skill set that translates very well to Congress. But I want to be clear that I am standing up in this moment to be a voice for the Jewish people. We have been under attack for 2+ years since October 7th. Israel itself, plus the anti-Zionism or anti-Semitism we're facing here in the United States. And we need more strong Jewish voices in elected office standing up for all of us. So I'm asking the Jewish community to stand with me in this election, and look forward to answering the other questions in this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you. JL.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Time's going. My name is J.L. Covan. I live in Bloomfield, New Jersey. During the day, I'm an eviction prevention attorney, and I've also been a stand-up comic for 20 years. My reason for running in this race is multifaceted, but as a half Haitian, my father was a Haitian immigrant. I feel personally attacked by this regime. And as a white presenting half Black person, I have heard far more discrimination in my life and know how to fight it probably better than most people in this race. And when it comes to fighting, as a courtroom lawyer and somebody who has been in communication and entertainment and sort of growing a large community on social media, I think all voters in all communities, and NJ-11, but especially the Jewish community, need to say, who is the strongest voice to represent us in this field? And I think I will be that strongest voice. Thank you.
Thank you. John.
Thank you very much. I'm John Bartlett, and I'm the only one on your primary ballot who spent a year living in Israel, the most consequential single year of my life. As a Wallenberg Scholar at the Hebrew University, I experienced extremes of hope and fear. We could safely cross the Allenby Bridge into Jordan and drive a rental car around Judea and Samaria. But I also heard the shots that ended the life of Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin. And one morning, the bus I was waiting for on Mount Scopus never arrived because it had been detonated on Ramat Eshkol minutes earlier. Most important, Jerusalem is where I met my wife. Now, if I asked you where in the world a nice Christian boy would go to meet an Indian Hindu woman, you wouldn't guess Israel. But that's our story, and it shaped our lives and our work. I'm eager to talk about my record of results as a voting rights lawyer and county commissioner, beating Trump and the Republican Party in court to protect vulnerable people. But foremost, I want to let you know that I recognize the relationship between the United States and Israel as fundamental and rooted in shared democratic values. I've also heard loud and clear from you, your kids, and your rabbis that families need to feel safe right here in New Jersey again. You can count on me to be a consistent and outspoken ally in Congress.
Thank you, Taisha.
Good afternoon, JDCA, and thank you for having this important forum because we are truly in a precipice. The stakes for New Jersey families can be higher. See, I'm a mom of four who wants to ensure that our civil rights are protected. And I'm the only candidate in this race who has delivered proven results as a county legislator, as a state judge, and now as your Secretary of State and Lieutenant Governor. As Secretary of State, I have been on the front line of our democracy, that guardian, taking on Donald Trump, winning, and I am the only candidate still in the ring. I oversee the Israel Commission, very near and dear to my heart. And I am, as Lieutenant Governor, the one who expanded access to healthcare. I look forward to this important conversation, and I thank you again for being part of our democracy and making it stronger.
Thank you. Tom.
Hi, Haley. Hey, everybody. I'm Tom Malinowski, former congressman, former Assistant Secretary of State who was responsible for leading our country's global fight for human rights and against anti-Semitism, and someone who got into politics because the values I fought for around the world on behalf of our country are under attack within our country. We're seeing a government in Washington today that's been captured by people who give sanction to every possible kind of bigotry, leaders who will pardon any crime so long as it's committed on behalf of the president, and who believe that America is no longer defined by ideals of freedom that everyone can embrace, but by blood and soil nationalism. In this emergency, I think it's incredibly important for Congress to step up and fulfill its constitutional responsibility. I'm running for Congress because I think there should be one. And my argument to voters in our district is that in this moment of emergency, it would help to send somebody to Washington who's been there, who has the experience and seniority to be effective on day one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Zach.
Haley, thanks so much. Everyone, it's great to be here today. I'm here as a son of the district. I grew up in Randolph, New Jersey, and I'm the proud member of an interfaith home. I've got my Irish, Italian, Catholic roots. My wife has her proud Ashkenazi Jewish roots, and we're proud to be raising our son as a Jewish American. And we know that the future that we offer him is the promissory note that we've all been passed. And I'm running because, as a former Army officer who's gone downrange, met extremists, and liberated cities in the Middle East alongside our international partners, but who's also built businesses and scaled new economies here in this country to drive benefit for more, I know that we can be our best hope. And in this moment, that promissory note is under attack from one generation to the next, whether it's rising anti-Semitism, attacks on our institutions, or on attacks on the immigrants who seek to build a better life here in this country. I want to drive those results for you in Washington and be your voice. Thanks for the privilege to be with you here today.
Thank you very much for those opening statements. We will now move into questions on a range of issues of importance to Jewish voters, starting with anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is on the rise in the United States and around the world. This weekend, we saw an anti-Semitic attack on the largest synagogue in Mississippi. And just 1 month ago, 2 gunmen opened fire at a Hanukkah celebration in Australia, killing 11, including a Holocaust survivor and a 10-year-old child. President Trump has platformed, embraced, hired, pardoned, and otherwise normalized known anti-Semites and extremists. Across the United States, anti-Semitic incidents have increased 893% in the past 10 years, according to the ADL. This is also clear in New Jersey, which has witnessed a range of incidents from high schoolers' plans to dress up as Hitler to violent threats against synagogues. What are you doing to combat anti-Semitism in New Jersey and nationally? And how will you prioritize this issue if elected to Congress? We will start with Anna, then JL, Jeff, John, Taisha, Tom, Zach, and Anna Lila. So over to you, Anna, to begin.
Thank you. First of all, it's a really important question. I think there are short-term and long-term things that we have to be doing. And I want to share too, my partner of 10 years is Jewish, right? We're having these conversations. I know that our community is scared, right? Like people just want to be able to go to temple and make sure that nothing happens to them and drop off their kids at school and make sure they're going to see their kids again, right? It's all very rational things. In the short term, we need to make sure that people feel safe. And then in the long term, we need to do things like regulate AI and technology and make sure that we're not pushing any divisive language that's happening already, and continue to build community outreach that's kind of within the Jewish community and focusing on education efforts outside of that.
Thank you. JL.
Hello. So I would say the two ways, I'll give you a particular example. After October 7th, I lost a friend who we were casual friends. We had never had sort of the experience to dig deep into sort of whatever prejudices we may have shared. But I found his response to October 7th disgusting, told him so. And, you know, that's not passing legislation, but that's in my personal life. As a comedian, I think what Trump has done over the last decade is conflate political correctness with a free license to discriminate and speak horribly and sort of increase the acceptance of hate in our public discourse. I've used my platform as a comedian and a large social media following to push back against that.
Thank you. Jeff.
Last week in New Jersey, the IRA definition, the bill to codify the IRA definition of anti-Semitism into the law failed in the Assembly. As a Jewish mayor last July, I stood before the Assembly panel and gave testimony as to the importance of passing an IRA definition in New Jersey. We are one of only 13 states remaining that does not have a definition on the books. 37 do, and it is pathetic that in the state with the fourth largest Jewish population in the United States, we don't have that. This is something that I fight for all the time. I'm also a member of the Jewish Community Relations Council of my federation and proud to be a founding member of a group called Community Leaders Against Hate. We are fighting hate of all kinds across our community because it's not just anti-Semitism that's killing our country. It's hate of every kind, and we need to stop it all.
Thank you. John.
Thank you. I come at this as someone who's part of an interfaith household and who's experienced life as a religious minority, unlike a lot of my fellow American Christians. I've heard personally from friends about the experiences of their Jewish American children in college and from rabbis in my own community about how the need to secure synagogues amounts to attacks created by anti-Semitism. I've been appalled to see synagogues and schools suffering acts of violence, and we need to be absolutely clear. Whatever difference anyone may have with Israeli government policy or with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and I have those differences as well, when you're directing those at a synagogue in the United States of America, at a Jewish school, at a school bus with Jewish children, that is not a conversation about foreign policy. That is targeting Jewish Americans with foreign policy as an excuse. I endorse the IRA definition of anti-Semitism and respond to the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act.
Thank you. Taisha.
Yes, this is unconscionable. Jackson, Mississippi, similar to 1967, the KKK. It's been a pride and privilege for me to oversee the Israel Commission. And I know after October 7th, I joined the community in mourning at Temple B'nai Jeshurun. I felt the fear. I spoke with some of the students who faced anti-Semitism on Rutgers campus. I directed my Israel Commission to form a letter to the university presidents, which our administration signed. And in Congress, I will definitely support the efforts to streamline access to funding through the Nonprofit Security Grant Program to ensure the safety of synagogues, Jewish schools. And I too take offense that my own state did not adopt IRA. And I will definitely move this forward as your congresswoman.
Thank you. Tom.
In 45 seconds, number one, political leaders need to step up and police their own sides. We're on the left. We have to police people on the left while recognizing that the far left of the Democratic Party hates our leadership, whereas the far right of the Republican Party is their leadership. Number two, we have to empower and fund the federal law enforcement institutions that this administration is eviscerating, to shifting resources to immigration enforcement away from monitoring domestic terrorism and extremism. And three, we need to regulate social media to make sure that the number one engine that spreads anti-Semitism in the world is shut down.
Thank you. Zach.
Yes, I think the relevancy and the urgency of this couldn't be more emphasized. Secretary Noem from Department of Homeland Security actually gave remarks just yesterday in front of a podium with "one of ours, all of yours." That's a line from the SS prior to committing an atrocity in what is now the Czech Republic. This is the leadership of the Republican Party. Democrats have a responsibility to stand up and demand no more. We've seen it in Glen Ridge, like was discussed. And ways we can move forward on that are absolutely the nonprofit security grant program and expanding that from 275 million to 500. So there's no anti-Semitism tax, but that all can practice faith without fear. And one of the most important pieces is civic education. I took a class on Holocaust and genocide studies right here in New Jersey that was a primer for the nation. We need to leverage the Department of Education as an instrument to attack hate at its core.
Thank you. Thank you. Anna Lilia, and I apologize about
Great. Thank you.
previous
Thank you,
pronunciations.
Yes, perfect. Perfectly done. Again, thank you for the question. On the first part, what I have done up until this point in my career to fight anti-Semitism and fight, in fact, all levels of hate. I am the co-director of an organization called the Center for Popular Democracy. In that capacity, I've been part of a national network of organizations fighting against rising white Christian nationalism that all, as many would know, are not only fomenting hate against Jewish people, Black people, immigrants, but really threatening our democracy. At home, I'm from Glen Ridge, New Jersey, and I experienced personally anti-Blackness towards my child in the same moment in which my neighbors were experiencing anti-Semitism. I joined with my neighbors to create education programs for our children. It is through education and through advocacy and through seriousness that we are able to fight all forms of hate. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move to our second question on affordability. JDCA believes Americans should afford the American dream, but with rising prices and stagnating wages, the basics of the middle class life are harder to afford, and the American dream feels further out of reach for more and more Americans. Too many New Jerseyans feel stuck and are unable to move ahead. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, New Jersey is the 11th most expensive state. There are many counties in the 11th district, including Essex and Morris, that are some of the highest burden counties in the country in terms of affordability. If elected, what are steps you would take in Congress to lower the costs for the people of New Jersey 11? We will start with JL, Jeff, John, Taisha, Tom, Zach, Anna, Lilia, and Anna. So JL.
There we go. As a constant public transit user, I want us to have much more federal funding in terms of just our public transit system, which is both getting price increases and delivering worse service. As somebody who rents, I would fight certainly things like these algorithm-driven programs that sort of collude in terms of rising rents above what they should be. And we certainly need this is not a mystery, a ton more building and affordable housing. And I think a lot more funding and a lot easing the burdens of construction. Some of that is obviously local, but more funding for transit and affordable housing.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thanks. I believe that the affordability crisis in the United States is very much driven by the the increase in healthcare premiums that we're seeing from year to year. In Morris Township, the workers that run our town, and these are workers across the state that run our towns, are going to be taking home less pay in 2026 than they have because of the rise in healthcare premiums is outstripping the raises that we can give them. This is the third year in a row they're taking home less pay, and it is driving the affordability crisis. So instead of talking about how much subsidies we need to give people, and we certainly need to give subsidies to get us through this crisis, we need to break the monopoly between the insurance companies, the providers, and the hospitals that are driving up these costs. And I need to go to Washington and figure out what the base problem is to lower costs for our healthcare system and drive down insurance premiums.
Thank you. John.
As the person in my family who does the grocery shopping, I take the affordability question very seriously, and it's one I've worked on consistently as a county commissioner. First and foremost, by lowering county property tax rates in my county every year for the last 9 years. So most constituents in NJ-11 are paying less in county property taxes than they were in 2018. I've done that not by doing less, but by doing more, bringing in hundreds of millions of dollars in federal funding for transportation and infrastructure, state funding for education and senior services, and by controlling the cost of healthcare in the county. And the cost of healthcare overall is a crucial issue. It's why one of the first commitments I made in my campaign was to sponsor a public healthcare option on day one to start bending that cost curve in the right direction and rein in the corporate insurers.
Thank you. Aisha.
Yes, I start with being a mom of 4 daughters, right? Daycare is a second mortgage. So universal pre-K, which I've done, 44,000 new seats here in New Jersey, is a necessity. I also look at the NEPA reform in DC, which would change the way we streamline projects, more housing, new renewable energy projects, and expedite timelines for projects, again, like the Gateway program. Of course, we want to fight and protect and expand the ACA, lowering the cost, making it affordable. And then we want to look to the SALT deduction cap. We want to make sure that there is no cap and that it is permanent. I also see small businesses as key. I brought in record federal funds to our state with my Business Action Center. And then finally, as a county commissioner, I reined in taxes too and stabilized them moving forward.
Thank you. Tom.
The single most important thing Congress can do to lower costs is to repeal these stupid tariffs that are a tax on every single American consumer and business. The Senate has already done so. The House needs to follow suit. I agree with what's been said on healthcare and housing. We also need to restore clean energy tax credits because it's the only way to increase the supply of cheap electricity. And we need to enforce our nation's antitrust laws because monopolies raise costs. Competition lowers costs. Thank you.
Thank you. Zach.
Thank you. We find ourselves living in a grotesque Gilded Age, right? Where a billionaire president is helping his billionaire friends building ballrooms and not bridges. And I think that that's a fundamental failure. The Big Beautiful Bill also brought forward the largest unfunded liability in the history of this country. And so I think we have to approach this both tactically and strategically. And I promise to you as a representative to be both progressively principled but pragmatically minded in what we can drive. And so that means focusing on healthcare subsidies, extensions where we've seen Republicans break to our side, SALT deduction cap removals where we've seen Republicans break to our side, and then building the platform for a housing moonshot to crush the cost cliffs that we know impact that promissory note from one generation to the next on being able to achieve that true American dream.
Anna-Lilia.
I think we're hearing very much the same across the board. I think I agree with so many of my fellow candidates. We must ensure that we are putting more money in people's pockets. Yes, that means lowering the cost of healthcare and lowering the cost of utilities and ensuring that we break up monopolies and that there is fair taxation so that the money that you work for is taxed with equity and fairness in the same way that you actually ensure that billionaires and corporations and all unearned wealth is actually also contributing to the collective good. I will say that unlike everyone else, I will work with community groups, with organizations, with grassroots to build the kind of leverage and momentum and awareness so that we could fight for these benefits, these more fair and economically sound policies. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna.
So the platform I'm running on is called the Fair Deal, which is the basic idea that when you work hard, show up for your community, and pay for your taxes, your government should show up for you. The things I'm talking about are universal health care, housing we can afford, education that actually supports our next generation. And the entire point of this is that we really need to have a clear and bold vision for the future. So the first urgent problem we need to face is fighting fascism in this country. And then the second part of that is that we need to finally address the real economic pains that the American people are facing so that this doesn't happen all over again in 4 years.
Thank you. We'll now move on to our third question, which is on healthcare. Republicans this past year passed the largest cut to healthcare in U.S. history and doubled the cost of healthcare premiums for 20 million Americans. In New Jersey, 466,000 people will now face staggering increases in their healthcare costs in 2026. 180,000 New Jerseyans will lose their healthcare altogether. If elected, what is your plan for expanding access to affordable healthcare? We're going to start with Jeff, John, Taisha, Tom, Zach, Anna-Lilia, Anna, and JL. I'm going to post this list in the order in the chat, and we're just going to go from person to person, spotlighting you, so I'm not going to say names anymore. Let's see if we can do it. Okay, over to you, Jeff.
Thanks. So to expand on my prior answer, I want to make sure everybody understands that I'm an engineer that has a process-driven and results-driven approach to everything that I do. We talked about the healthcare monopoly that exists down in Washington between the insurance companies, the hospitals, the providers that needs to be broken. We need more engineers that can solve those big problems like I can down in Washington. And this is what I plan to do in order to lower healthcare costs for our country. But in addition to that, I believe that we should have a minimum healthcare standard in our country. So I am not for Medicare for all, but I do believe that there should be a minimum standard of healthcare that everybody receives, well visits, prenatal care, and such. And we need to start working towards that goal of providing a minimum healthcare standard in our country to ensure that everybody gets the healthcare they need in this great democracy.
John, we're not hearing you.
I swear I'll get it right one of these days.
There you go. Go ahead.
Halie, some of the numbers that you referenced include more than 30,000 children in Passaic County who are going to suffer loss of healthcare access as a result of the big, beautiful bill, which is absolutely appalling. We in Passaic County operate a healthcare center for seniors and people with disabilities. So whereas each of us as consumers can think about what our coverage is, running an operation like that is an understanding that it all comes together. Then if you're talking about pulling Medicaid out of that equation or making it much more expensive for families to afford coverage on the exchanges, you're affecting all of us. I want to make sure folks understand that. I want to stand for a public option on day one to use the market to bend the cost curve in the right direction.
Go ahead, Taisha.
Okay, this is very personal to me. At 19, I suffered a brain hemorrhage and my insurance denied my occupational therapy. So I definitely want to take the lead on fighting and protecting and expanding the ACA. So because no one should be denied whatsoever, making sure that expanding where the premium tax credits. And I also signed important legislation expanding mental health services for our kids, our college students. And at the same time, I signed legislation to have our biomarker testing for cancer patients free of charge and insurance. And these are the things that I would come to bear and bring as your rep in Congress, and ensure prices for prescription costs are lowered too.
Sorry, waiting to be called on. So first of all, Democrats won the shutdown debate by picking a fight on this issue. I think we are going to see the restoration of the Obamacare subsidies because of that. but it's not enough. We've got to reverse the Medicaid cuts, and we have to address the underlying cost of healthcare in America. I think the best way to do that is to ensure that every American has the freedom to buy into a public health insurance option like Medicare, and to go after these middlemen like the PBMs that are driving up costs for everybody without increasing the quality of care. Thanks.
Zach.
We've also seen an onslaught and an attack on healthcare for veterans with 35,000 job cuts at the Veterans Affairs Department. We've seen a rollback in the PACT Act for our first responders after 9/11. This administration does not care about the health or benefits of this society. And we saw it yesterday with the EPA removing the assessment of lives saved in its criteria for environmental protection. I worked in innovation in the healthcare space, helping stand up an initiative that expanded Medicaid and Medicare access in Baltimore and DC. We need to push for Medicare for all, but we also need to leverage innovation as a tool for growth to collapse the drug discovery timeline, to improve the therapeutics, and to expand access and accelerate quality care to the greatest number at the greatest quality.
Ana-Lilia.
All righty. Ana Lilia, no, I was ready. So I'm glad to hear that there is amongst folks here also support for Medicare for all, or at a very minimum, allowing people to have a public option. The bottom line is that we are in a healthcare crisis, and it's actually drowning most people, including folks living in NJ-11. I will share just a different insight, how I propose that we would pay for it, because the truth is we can generate through tax fairness, the kind of resources we need to pay for Medicare for all and protecting the VA and ensuring that everyone has health insurance. We could pass a 4% income-based premium on households to ensure that we could pay for these things. And that is way cheaper than what most people spend on premiums. It would also require a 7.5 premium on employers, again, cheaper than what they pay. We could have cost savings by negotiating the price of medicines and services. And I think it is within reach if we have the energy to do it. Thank you.
Anna.
Yeah, I have to agree with many of my colleagues on this, right? I think that universal health care is the clearest and most popular solution across the United States. We've seen it work in other countries. It ends up being cheaper for everyone. And again, this is about making sure that we prioritize the health of human beings over profit. So I think that's the truth here. Like, Democrats have to be bold and not compromise to start with. And I think something I'm committed to is that if we can't do this at the federal level, then I think New Jersey has the capacity and opportunity to be bold and be a pilot for a New Jersey Cares option, where we can show the rest of the United States, hey, we can pass universal health care. Let's do it for everyone.
JL.
I think we need a public option. Many people have said that. I also think, despite our party's aversion to incrementalism, I think we should probably also, I know new government programs are not popular, but I do think we need a more robust elder care system, especially given how expensive that is at the tail end of people's lives. I think obviously seeing immigrants who are home health aides being deported is not helpful, as are Medicaid cuts disastrous as well. I think getting private equity far away from hospitals as much as possible in terms of the monopolies they're creating and harming overall health needs in this country. I guess those are a few of the things I can say in 45 seconds.
Thank you. Our fourth question focuses on democracy. The future of democracy was the #1 issue for Jewish American voters in the 2024 and 2022 elections. Since entering office, President Trump has gutted our democratic institutions, weaponized the Department of Justice to attack political opponents, urged states to manipulate elections through gerrymandering, and actively defied the Constitution in various respects. If elected, what actions would you take to defend democracy, restore the role of Congress as enshrined in Article 1 of the Constitution, and ensure free and fair elections? We will start with John.
I unmuted this time. if the voters in NJ-11 want to protect and preserve American democracy and make sure that the 2026 and 2028 elections are free and fair, they need to send a voting rights lawyer to Congress right now. I have, for 24 years as an attorney, I have gone toe to toe with the RNC in federal court. I've represented individual voters. I've been part of teams not only in New Jersey but in Pennsylvania, making sure that the right to vote is protected on election day. I know the Republican tricks. I know how to fight back against them. I'm ready to legislate. I'm ready to litigate, and I'm ready to make sure that this is central to the conversation. As you pointed out in the very beginning, this is the first congressional election of 2026. Let us set the tone and talk about democracy and its protection from day one.
Thank you, Taisha.
Okay, this is what I've been doing for the past 8 years as Secretary of State. I have defended us and our democracy, expanding it in many ways in the face of Donald Trump being attacked, being threatened, taking him to court, being personally sued. There are lawsuits out there with my name, Trump versus Way, and I've won. And I'm still in the ring with him, unlike any other candidate, because now the DOJ, who you spoke of, is after personal identifying information off of voter rolls. And I have told them no. I have led nationally on this as president of the National Association of Secretaries of State. I am fully familiar with the SAVE Act, which is one of the most voter suppressed acts ever in DC. So I am experienced from day one to take this matter on.
Tom.
I've been doing it all year. I'm talking every single day to my friends in the House and the Senate about how they can use things like the Impoundment Act and laws that allow them to actually challenge the president's tariffs, the War Powers Act creatively, and they're beginning to do it. I think in a situation where we don't have the majority or may have the majority in only one house, the two things I would focus on are, number one, using the power of the purse to protect every part of the executive branch that is supposed to be independent. And number two, investigate and hold accountable the outright corruption of this administration, the sale of our foreign and domestic policies, because I think that is one of the greatest political vulnerabilities that Donald Trump has.
Zach.
At the end of the day, we have seen the Congress completely abdicate its Article 1 responsibilities at the same time that we've watched the highest court in the land go after some of the most important legislation that opened up the ability for millions of Americans to be re-enfranchised and have the opportunity to vote through the Voting Rights Act. And this rollback should be an assault and a warning to all of us. And I think fundamentally, we have to acknowledge the challenge that we face, which is in the next 8 months of this term, we will still be in the minority. So we need to build a platform. We need to assert oversight. We need to leverage the power of the purse. And we need to find convergence with those who would question their ability to try to get around what is the law of the land every single day through hearings and through the platform of media at every opportunity.
Anna-Lilia.
Members of Congress essentially have two levers that they could use, and sadly, many members of Congress underutilize the second. I'm going to start with the first in terms of legislation, the ability to move laws or to propose policies or amendments to ensure that we protect democracy. First and foremost, we need to understand that we are in the grips of not only fascism, but authoritarianism. It has arrived because the fact that there are masked agents taking Americans off the street, shooting Americans on the streets for their First Amendment or their constitutional protected rights tells us that we are in authoritarianism. We need to make sure that we abolish ICE and fix our broken immigration system. Trump now has a paramilitary force that we have to stop. We need to protect the 14th Amendment to bar insurrectionists from office and reform our courts. They have been taken by extremists. You could learn more from my website. I have more.
Thank you. JL. Oh, I skipped Anna. Sorry, Anna.
Okay. Look, we're in an incredibly scary moment, and I've come to the realization that whoever gets elected to this position cannot do this alone. They will not be our savior, right? So what we need to do is that every day regular people have to organize. and we have to build the community that is going to protect us and keep us safe. So what does that actually mean? It means mobilizing, right? It means prioritizing our safety and security. And for the person that gets elected, it means being very fierce to challenge and stop this administration, getting in the way, being creative. And when we're in power again as Democrats, Democrats have to deliver a very clear economic vision for the future that includes all of us.
Yeah.
Okay, so not to go over what some people have said, I would say term limits for federal judges, especially the Supreme Court, and I know I want to give credit to Ana Lilia, that's part of her platform. I would also say we need people, despite I don't want to present myself as the hero that Anna was just saying will not save us. But Democrats, individually and collectively, need to present a vision to a public that is, frankly, civically ignorant at this point. Democracy wasn't a winning issue in 2024. It should have been. I believe that means we need better messengers and a pure, clearer message. Term limits, ban on stock trading, ban partisan gerrymandering, and have somebody who can speak in practical terms to everyday people about how the Constitution is related to your everyday life.
Jeff.
Thanks. Tom spoke before about how tariffs are driving up prices in our country, which they certainly are, and it is not bringing back manufacturing like they are supposed to be doing. And that power lies in Congress, not with the president. So Congress has been neutered, and I don't understand why they are not fighting back harder. We need more and stronger fighters down in Washington. I'll remind you, I flipped my town from red to blue and became the first Democratic mayor. Been fighting Republicans for a long time, but we need stronger voices down in Washington to push these initiatives through and stand up for the democratic values. I agree that the gerrymandering has torn our country apart and pulled people to the extremes. We need a law in place to make sure that districts are fair and we have competitive elections again across this country and try to bring some normalcy back to our elections.
Thank you. We'll now move to our fifth question, focused on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and Israel. In the more than 2 years since Hamas's horrific attacks of October 7th, JDCA has advocated for both vital security assistance to Israel and humanitarian assistance for Palestinians. We're grateful for a ceasefire which secured the release of almost every hostage in Gaza, and if successfully implemented, will lay the groundwork for a sustainable peace and rebuilding of Gaza. What do you believe is the role of Congress with regard to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and what is your position with regard to U.S. security assistance for Israel? We will start with Tom, followed by Zach, Ana Lilia, Anna, JL, Jeff, John, and Taisha. Tom.
Thanks, Halie. First of all, I believe in Israel's right to exist and defend itself as a Jewish and democratic state, particularly after the atrocity of October 7th. I had a perfect pro-Israel voting record in Congress. As a pro-Israel Democrat, I also feel I have to listen to the voices of the hostage families who believed that the Prime Minister of Israel was prolonging the war in a way that was designed to promote his power and not the interest of the people of Israel. I also have to listen to the hundreds of Israeli former security officials who have been publicly pleading with the United States, or who were before the ceasefire, to put more pressure on both sides to bring an end to the war. I strongly support, as much as I despise Trump, the 20-point ceasefire and peace plan. I worry that both the government of Israel and Hamas are now kind of locked in a mutual self-interest of defying it, and Congress needs to see that that plan is implemented.
Zach.
I've deployed forward to the Middle East, and I've fought war and navigated war in the Middle East. And I know and categorically support security assistance and the right of Israel to defend itself against the heinous acts of October 7th. I know how shocking and how awful that can be, and cannot imagine what that must have felt like for the Israelis. I'm proud to see the US government's efforts shoulder to shoulder with the Israelis to provide humanitarian assistance to non-combatants and find ground for stability. I know from my own family that even at times when we believe that peace is impossible, it can be possible so long as two serious, sober sides that are committed to that framework can craft it. We saw that in Northern Ireland, where my family is from. I believe that we can see it here, so long as security is not sacrificed.
Annalelia.
I want to first state that, like folks who have spoken before me, I believe Israel has the right to both exist and defend itself. I also believe that Israel has the responsibility to ensure freedom for all those who live within it. I believe that the United States should work with our allies, both Israelis and Palestinians, to ensure that our tax dollars go towards peace and not bombs. I know that we can invest in defensive measures and diplomacy and peace without supporting bombing and land grabs. I am glad to see a ceasefire. I would be glad to work with partners across the board. What I am not willing to ever support is any condition in which some people are born not free and undefended, and to use our tax dollars to harm the innocent. Thank you.
Anna.
So, I mean, I want to start by saying that I believe in Israel's right to exist. I believe in a free and democratic Israeli state. And I think that Israel and Jews around the world are safest when Israel is not at war with its neighbors. So with that, I'm someone who really promotes peace building and just long-term diplomatic strategies so that we can properly support that. Yeah, I think that's the main things. I want to move forward in terms of how do we use our partnership to value human rights and make sure that we are holding the Israeli government accountable when they do commit, when they are hurting people.
JL.
I believe in Israel's right to exist as a Jewish state. I also think that Benjamin Netanyahu is something of a monster. I think he's corrupt. I think he has made a deal with the devil in terms of a far-right government to advance his own political power and keep himself out of jail. If New Jerseyans can applaud, even rhetorically, when Mikey Sherrill suggests withholding tax funds from Donald Trump, I see no reason why at this late stage, where Netanyahu has shown who he is, spit in the face of Joe Biden, and is dragging America's moral authority through the gutter, I don't agree with supplying this regime with the level of aid that we've done in the past.
Jeff.
Thanks. I believe we need to be supporting democracies all around the world. That includes Israel, Ukraine, and Taiwan. These democratic countries that are under attack from countries and tyrants that are around them need our support, and we need to continue to support them. Israel is one of those democratic countries. I remind Annalelia that there's 20% Arab population within Israel that have full democratic rights as citizens of Israel, and they have more rights than they do in all of the surrounding countries that surround Israel. So we need to stand with Israel both as an important ally in the Middle East, probably our strongest ally in the world, intelligence sharing, giving aid. I believe in unconditional aid to Israel. We need to ensure that it has all of the things that they need to survive. And in Congress, I plan to be supporting Israel. Thanks.
As a reminder, candidates are not to address each other. John. Please unmute.
Swear to God, I'll get it right one of these days. Israel's inherent right to exist safely and securely is non-negotiable. And until you've ridden a bus down to the Jerusalem Central bus station and that moment where you all come together and realize what a target you are, it's hard to understand the visceral fear that's part of being surrounded by those who would have Israel swept off the map. I support the 2016 U.S.-Israel Memorandum of Understanding, and furthermore, our joint technological development, covering, including cyber attack defenses, the whole range of technologies that the development of which is helping the United States defensively, as well as protecting our democratic ally in the Middle East, Israel. I reject arbitrary distinctions between offensive and defensive weapons. And as for humanitarian aid and the conversation about the aid to the Palestinian people, as for that, whatever mechanisms deliver that aid, they need to ensure that the resources reach Palestinians who need them without enriching those that support terrorism,
Thank you.
including through pay for slave schemes.
Thank you. Taisha.
Yes, I'm a strong believer that there should be a two-state solution. Peace and coexistence is long-term, and that is the North Star of my politics. And I also want to say, when I was on an AJC delegation 2019 with my fellow secretaries of state, that really underscored in witnessing the strong alliance between U.S. and Israel, seeing these intelligence, the security, and our democratic values, which are shared. Now, Gaza, yes, must be rebuilt, but it should be rebuilt without Hamas. And of course, we want to build upon the Abraham Accords with more normalization, which is needed with partners in the Middle East.
Thank you. Our last question relates to ICE. Last week, an ICE agent murdered Renee Nicole Good, an unarmed woman who dropped her child off at school in Minneapolis. This is one of a long list of overly aggressive actions taken by ICE in the past year. And since the beginning of Trump's second term, where we've seen masked ICE agents take parents from their children, hold them in inhumane conditions, and send them to foreign countries they have never lived in. If elected, how would you respond to the current immigration policies, and how would you respond to the militarization of ICE? We'll start with Zach, then Analilia, Anna, JL, Jeff, John, Taisha, and Tom. Zach.
Thank you. ICE is not in any way the law enforcement that I grew up knowing. My dad was a cop for over 36 years and retired as the chief of police. I know that policing really, when built right, is about the community to truly serve and protect, not a secret militia to strip the rights of those who have immigrated to this country in search of a better dream. We need to fundamentally reform drive comprehensive and fundamental immigration reform in order to attack this core problem. But we also need to draw oversight and actual accountability for these officers. There is no way in which the shooting of Renee Good is justifiable. We've seen a series of these shootings, and ICE conducted a raid just 5 minutes from my home here on Speedwell Avenue in Morristown. This is an assault on the census. It's an assault on you as it's an assault on me. We need to stand up against it and draw it into the light.
Analilia.
ICE has now become what is in effect a paramilitary force that is not only threatening immigrants and immigrant community, or those who live amongst immigrants, but also every single American. The truth of the matter is that it's only existed for 22 years, and it's clear it's not working. I believe we need to abolish ICE, and we need to fix our broken immigration system. That also means that we need to stop the use of private detention centers. Privatizing detention centers creates the economic incentive to detain and harass more people. We need to invest in the front end of immigration, of our immigration system, so that people don't linger for 7 years establishing roots and then being torn away. And we also need to ensure that we are upholding, again, the 14th Amendment and our constitutional protections like due process and equal protection.
Anna.
I first just want to say I think all of us at this forum agree, and I hope that all of us will be very strong against ICE. They are in New Jersey right now, and I just saw reports that they're in Warren County and they've started pulling people from their cars. So just unabashedly, we need to defund, dismantle, abolish this organization, right? Because they are terrorizing people, and that's not the America that I want to live in, honestly. And then the second part of that is we need to finally and meaningfully address immigration reform and create an actual path to becoming a legal resident, to becoming a U.S. citizen, right? It is intentionally hard, and it doesn't have to be.
JL.
Yes, as a former prosecutor, I've worked with law enforcement, and I think watching ICE I never really gave them the benefit of the doubt, and seeing the way Trump uses all levers of the federal government is always disturbing and worst case scenario. But it's clear ICE needs to be abolished. I think when Democrats regain the House, hopefully the Senate, there has to be obviously a sort of package put forward, because it can't just be no, 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 we're against this, we're against this. I think, as difficult as it's been, we need to put together a comprehensive immigration package that focuses on security, because you can't just get rid of ICE without providing some sort of meaningful security in its place. But ICE has to go.
Jeff.
Thank you. Us in the Jewish community know where fascism leads. We have an experience of what happened in Germany, and what happened in Minnesota last week is the next step in that fascist process. We all know how the Nazis terrorized Jews in Germany, and ICE is now terrorizing our immigrants here in this country. We are all immigrants from all over the world, and we need to ensure that those people looking for better opportunity here in our country aren't terrorized as criminals and treated humanely with due process and other things that people have mentioned so far in the forum. But I am so scared, so scared as a Jew of where this country is headed and how ICE is treating people and terrorizing them. It absolutely needs to stop.
John.
As a member of an immigrant family, as someone who's married to a naturalized citizen, this is something I feel very personally. And also as a county commissioner for 12 years, representing more than 500,000 people, a third of whom are immigrants. This is something that I've worked on back to the beginning of the first Trump administration, when Passaic County became the first to adopt a county level fair and welcoming policy, so that immigrants, regardless of status, knew that they were safe interacting with Passaic County officials, law enforcement, et cetera. I've been working on that set of issues, and we need to support the states and localities that are doing so. We need to turn back this abdication of Congress's role, both the power of the purse and the power of oversight, to rein in these absolutely offensive excesses that we're seeing from ICE.
Thank you. Taisha.
Yes, this is unconscionable, right? This is a matter of civil rights. And as Democrats, we believe in dignity and due process, right? And that ICE should not be weaponized, just like how the DOJ is weaponizing our democracy. And I even think about the young senior, right, from Morristown, a child as a parent. And this is why I signed important legislation where employers in this state will get penalized if they disclose immigration status, so that employees, our community members, will not be in fear. And this is what I will do in DC to stand up for the basic human dignity of all.
I'm an immigrant to this country myself, and I am beyond furious watching what this administration is doing to legal immigration, including the total shutdown of refugee admissions to the United States. And of course, and Jeff is right, these are proto-fascist operations that we're seeing on our street. The notion that American citizens have to prove their citizenship to a masked, cowardly federal agent when we're walking down the street is the most un-American thing that I've ever heard. Congress needs to use its power of the purse to defund these operations, and the Democratic Party needs to be more comfortable championing the notion of America as a nation of immigrants.
Thank you. That was our last answer to our last question. So we are now going to have closing statements. We will have, I'm just looking, is this a 1-minute closing statement? We will have closing statements, starting with Anna Lila, followed by Anna, JL, Jeff, John, Taisha, Tom, and Zach. Anna Lila.
Nalilia. It's
Anna
okay
Lilia,
though.
sorry.
All right. Well, I want to thank you again for hosting this forum, for giving us an opportunity to speak to Jewish voters, Jewish Democratic voters. As I shared, I, the bottom line with my candidacy is that I am the kind of Democrat who always believes that we have an obligation to each other, that we have to fight together to ensure that we are bettering the lives of everyone in our community. You could rest assured that I always would have my door open, that I'm always interested in learning, that I'm always interested in understanding the issues so that we could work together on solutions. I am committed to the kind of democracy, participatory democracy, in which it's clear that we have lost. I also have the ability to engage people, to connect with people in this moment, which is what our Democratic Party needs. And so in a moment in which we are fighting fascism, sending an organizer makes sense. And I thank you for taking the time to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Anna.
Yeah, thank you everyone for your time today. I really appreciate it. I think we have to come together as a community. We have to organize where fascism is here, right? So yes, this election matters deeply, but it also matters what we do forward, what we do moving forward. So we have to come together. We have to be calling our elected officials, and we have to be showing up at every way to make sure that we're here for each other. So ultimately, I'm running on a platform called The Fair Deal. It's about an economic vision that I think is going to bring us into the future. It's all about what you deserve from your government and representatives. You can learn more at annaliewilliams.com. And thank you, and let's keep fighting.
Thank you, JL.
I'm running for this seat because I've been sort of disturbed over the era of Trump at how America could fall for such a con man with bad ideas and worse values. And it dawned on me as a lawyer, a courtroom lawyer for over 2 decades and a stand-up comic for over 2 decades who's built a large social media following, that Democrats need better communicators, they need stronger voices, and they need a voice that people can trust, because it's not kowtowing to anybody. It's somebody who speaks truth to power for a living, can engage with disaffected voters, independent voters, and build the Democratic Party up stronger, because great policies and great intentions really don't mean anything if you don't have a strong voice.
Jeff.
Jews in this country are facing a moment in time. We just talked about ICE agents terrorizing people here, and we know where fascism leads. We talked about the anti-Semitism, how it's growing, and we need to fight back against hate of all kinds. I am stepping up to be a strong Jewish voice to represent our community, fight hate of all kinds, support Israel, and make sure that it's the long-term Jewish homeland for the Jewish people. But on top of that, I told you I'm an engineer. I focus on process-oriented, results-driven approach. We have so many problems in this country. If we had more engineers in Washington who could deliver for this country, I think the Democratic Party would be in a better position. We've had 2 terms of Trump for a reason, because Democrats haven't delivered. Send an engineer to Washington. Let me figure out and solve some of the biggest problems this country is facing. And let's move the Democratic Party forward.
John.
Thank you, first of all, to the JDCA for hosting this. I think what we've heard today is how attuned this organization is to the crises of our moment, both domestically and around the world. I believe that to protect American democracy, we need to elect more Democrats, first and foremost. And the path to that leads through making sure that the elections of 2026 and 2028 are free and fair, and that we use this election to set the tone for those. We also need to reject and fight back, obviously, against anti-Semitism, in particular, making clear that it has no place in our party. That is how we will protect democracy and pluralism here, stand up unequivocally for Israel and the safety of that beautiful country that I love. I would encourage voters to find the candidate with a record of results on those issues and support him on Election Day.
Or her. Taisha.
Thank you, JDCA. Several days from now, we'll be celebrating MLK's birthday, right? Who walked with Rabbi Heschel in Selma. So I was about to hang up my cleats and not even think about public life anymore, but it's my daughters. their reproductive rights. It's everyone experiencing anti-Semitism here. It is our democracy, our opportunity. So we need authentic leaders who understand that it is not about high temperature politics. It's about just serving and putting the people's needs first. I always speak for myself, and I always understand the call to action that we should create a healthy democracy, but it should be about service. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Tom, we can't hear you.
I did it finally. Hi. In 2026, we're not just electing a Congress. We're trying to win a fight about what America is, the definition of our country. Are we still a country that is based on values? Or are we a country based on blood and soil nationalism, in which some people are better than others because they've been here for generations, because they are white, because they own land? It's amazing to me that these are the arguments that people in power in our country are making. I've been preparing for this fight all my life, fighting exactly this kind of authoritarianism outside of America and inside the Congress against Donald Trump. I hate the fact that I have to keep on doing it, but I believe that of these candidates, I'm the best prepared to do it effectively on day one. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank you. First, thank you for the JDCA hosting this event and a timely discussion on this. And it's a privilege to be here, and it's a privilege always to serve. The question that I'd ask everyone to consider is, at a moment where we have converged on so many crises and so many cost cliffs, isn't it an opportunity for new leadership and new ideas in Washington, with a proven track record across sectors, both public and private, in driving real results, from economic development to national security? My track record in my life has brought that forward, from far shores in Iraq to right here with Nokia Bell Labs 2.0 in New Jersey. I'm focused on building a bias for action to drive an agenda on affordability and accountability, again, so that we can run to the sound of the guns, address the challenge, solve the problems at hand, and hand off a promissory note that offers a better future to the next generation.
Thank you. I want to thank our 8 candidates for their impromptu closing statements just now and for their responses to our questions on issues of importance to Jewish Americans. While we touched on some of these issues, we didn't have time to get into everything, and certainly not in as much depth as each of these important topics deserve. And we encourage everyone to learn more about the candidates' positions on their websites before voting in the primary on February 5th. We also encourage you to visit our website, jewishdems.org, to learn about our advocacy efforts as well as our engagement efforts in elections. I will now invite Rabbi Ben Kelsen to close today's forum. Over to you, Rabbi.
Thank you very much, Halie. And thank you, as Halie said, my name is Rabbi Ben Kelsen, and I am one of the JDCA's New Jersey state leads. I want to thank all of the candidates and all of you for joining us today. Forums like this one are crucial for voters as we make important decisions about who will represent our party in Congress. And we hope that you learned more about the candidates and are inspired to take action over the coming months as the election rapidly approaches. Just as a reminder, the NJ-11 primary is on February 5th. We can start voting early from January 29th until February 3rd, and the general election will be on April 16th. And we want to encourage you all to make your plan to vote and to support Democrats this election. We also hope that you'll join the JDC efforts to flip the House, take back the Senate, and win critical statewide races around the country as we go forward in 2026. And we thank you for supporting our work to elect Democrats who share our values, and we hope that you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you so much. Special thank you to our candidates. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Great job.
Have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you.